talk about quartiles yesterday because we had quite a review session on loads of other things. So do you remember once we've drawn our cumulative frequency graph, essentially they often look like that or something of that nature. Okay, so here would be our cumulative frequency, here's our data value, and we can read information from this. So if we were trying to find the median, remember we would halve whatever our top number is. So this went up to the number 80, or I wrote CF to leave that place. So if this went up to the number 80, then our median would be where? At 40. So we would find 40 and we'd read off this number, yes?
Wait, is this a quartile?
No. Okay, so this is our cumulative frequency graph.
Yeah.
I'm pretending this particular one goes up to 80. Okay? If I wanted to find the median value, like we were talking about yesterday, I would say, well, what's half of 80? 40. And I would draw a horizontal line until I hit my graph and then read the value off. Yes? Remember that from yesterday? Now, medians are nice and straightforward. Sometimes we start talking about what we call quartiles. Now, a quarter of something is how much? Bless you.
Thank you.
How many can we cut them into?
25%.
Into four. Into four things. So quartiles is going to cut our data into how many sections do you think? Four. Okay. Our median has cut it into, Natasha, our median has cut it into 2 already, yes? So our quartiles are going to cut them into 2 again. So I, in this case, would draw a line at which value? 20. And in this case would be 60.
Oh, so this is a quartile.
So these are quartiles.
And that's a quarter of 80.
A quarter of the data. Yes.
So
just minus
20,
20.
60, 80. Oh, I get that.
So it will always depend on what's your biggest cumulative frequencies. Okay. So obviously, if this was 100, you'd be looking at 50 and 25 and 75. Yes. So it's all going to depend on the biggest frequency, the total of frequency. So our median cuts in 2, and these 2 are known as. This would be known as the upper.
Hello.
This would be the upper quartile, or quartile 3, and this would be known as the lower quartile, or quartile 1. The median is also known as quartile 2. Okay, so we have quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3.
What about 4?
Well, obviously that's the maximum. Okay, so that's the height, so we don't ever talk about quartile 4. Alright? So this is what we mean by quartiles. Now you may want to add something to your notes from yesterday. So maybe you want to show where the lower quartile and the upper quartile would have been. So how much do we have? So yeah, let's do it on your graph. So if we have 50, I would suggest a different colour pen would be a brilliant idea. So if this was our graph from yesterday, we knew our maximum was 50. So where was our median?
How do you spell quartile?
25.
Okay. Quartile is written there for you, Abby. It's also written in the notes up above, sweetheart. So our median was at 25. Now where is our lower quartile going to be?
15.
No, not 15.
Oh, 13.
Emily has a hand up.
Would it be 10?
No. How did we decide? If we knew that our median on this one was 40, how did we know that this one was at 20? Half. Okay, so Amy, can you help us out? What's half of 25?
13.5.
Pardon?
13.5.
Nearly.
12.5.
12.5. Good. So our lower quartile would be at 12.5. Now, remember, we are doing this as accurately as possible given our scale. So if your scale, if you're looking at it going, oh my gosh, I don't know what 12.5 is, just do your best. There will be a range accepted. So we would do the line across until it hits the graph, and then a vertical line, and whatever value we have here would be our lower quartile.
Just a question, did anyone get 10?
I got 9.
Yeah, I got 10. Okay.
So that sounds good, yeah? So people are pretty much on the same page there.
What do you mean by you
Remember,
got?
yours is wrong, Douglas. Remember, yours needs to change yours. So, whilst I don't want to ignore anyone, we're not really going to consider yours values.
Wait,
And then,
what do they mean by they got this? Like the...
because they read off their graph and they found a value of 9 or 10. So they did a horizontal line at the value of 12.5.
Would it matter if I did mine on the other side of the graph? Because I did mine on this side. So could I still go over?
It shouldn't matter, because when you read down, wherever you go down, it should be the correct number. Imani?
So, like, if you had a question, it would say, like, what's the first quartile?
It might say what's the lower quartile, yes. Yep.
Would you ever do, like, let's say the 80 graph, would it be like, what's the second quartile?
And they might, just to make sure you knew it was the median. Okay, so the second quartile is also the median.
Wouldn't it be 60?
Oh, it's like the
No,
question.
this is the third quartile.
So could the question be like...
Okay, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
So 80 is not a quartile, right?
Well, it's the highest point, so we wouldn't ever consider it as, we wouldn't ever discuss the fourth quartile, because that's all about data.
What's the interquartile?
Oh, sorry, I'm going to talk about that in a second. Okay, so this one's at 12.5. So then where would the other one be? Where would the upper quartile be for this data?
What do we have, 50?
Not half of 50, because that's 25, remember? So we're talking about halfway between 25 and 50.
That would be... No. I don't know.
Okay, so let's try and help ourselves out when we're doing this. Indigo?
Would it be 37?
Almost. Almost. So if we knew that half of this amount was 12.5, yes? We know that we're going up in 12.5s, yes? So then what would 12.5 above this be? What's 25 plus 12.5? 37.5, yeah, 37.5. Are you all with me on that? Yes? So finding the bottom one is the easiest one, and then all you have to do is add that to your median to find this number. Natasha, darling, what are you doing? You're just messing with papers and books. In a second. Alright, so then we would read that across, and that would give us our upper quartile. Okay, so this one was 20, and this one, let's say it was 10. Now, sometimes we may be asked to give the interquartile range. Now, I think that's on the next page, but we may as well talk about it here, seeing as we're looking at this stuff here. No, actually, no, I want to go to the next page. Okay, so we're happy with how we find our lower quartile and upper quartile from the graph.
Yeah.
So, final page on this stuff. So this is looking at the spread of data. Now, two main things that we look at are the range and the interquartile range. So the range, you should have covered that donkeys years ago, maybe in year 7.
Oh, I love the range.
So the range is literally...
Sorry, we haven't learned mode yet, have we?
Well, we've discussed it, and it's the most popular.
Bless you.
It was a cough, but thank you.
Well, yeah, like, no one has a word for it.
I know they don't. Excuse you, right. Alright, ladies. Shh. So the range is literally the highest number in your data, subtract the lowest number in your data. So in this data here, what's the highest number? 9. What's the lowest number?
3.
So we would actually work out the value of 9 take away 3. Now, you must not leave it like that. You wouldn't say 9 to 3 or 3 to 9. Because I know in many questions, if it's verbally asked, you say, well, what's the range of something? You say, well, it's between this and this. But for maths, when they've asked for the mathematical range, you actually have to give the answer to this. So you would say it was 6. So if you just left it as 9 take away 3, you wouldn't get any marks if it was only worth 1.
What subject did you say we leave it as 19.3?
You don't. Not in maths. No, if I said to you, well, what's the range of results? You'd say, you may say to me, well, it ranges between 3 and 9. Okay, so you would use the word range to tell me what the numbers are. But if I said to you, what's the range of this data, mathematically, like if I said, what's the maths answer, you'd tell me 6. So I don't know if it's between 20 and 26. I don't know if it's 100 and 106. I just know that there's a range of 6 between the highest number and the lowest number. Okay?
What do you mean by range of 6? Oh, I just got it.
9 take away 3 is 6.
Yeah, but like the range of 6. But like there's also like 4, 5, 6, 7. Like what do you mean like range of 6?
The range is what's the difference between the highest value and the lowest value.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
6 would be the range.
So girls, there's lots of side conversations going on. Whilst it's not last lesson, it is a birthday and it's Friday.
For only this wasn't last lesson.
Okay. So here, the range of this data is just 6. Okay. Now, interquartile range is quartile 3 subtract quartile 1. So if you've been asked to find the interquartile range, you need to be able to find the quartiles. Okay. Now, we've talked about that from a frequency diagram, cumulative frequency diagram. It's quite straightforward. From data, sometimes people get freaked out a little bit, but we shall not. Here's an example. So it says, for the data set, blah, blah, find the median, the lower and the upper quartiles, and the interquartile range. So, we know that whenever we're looking at medians, what do we have to do with our data first of all? And it's something that people generally forget. Amy.
Put it in order.
Put it in order. So, let's make sure we're putting this in order. So I can see that I've got a 2.
You've got 3 3s.
I've got 1, 2, 3 3s. Thank you.
1 4.
Thank you.
4 5s.
1, 2, 3, 4 5s.
6.
I've got 2 6s.
2 7s. 2 7s.
2 7s.
And 1 8 and 1 9.
1 8 and 1 9. Okay. So remember, when you be writing them, what should you do?
Cross them off.
Cross them off or count them to make sure that you've got the same number of data values. Okay. Now, I like to put a tick rather than cross through them, because you may find that when you cross through them, you can't read them anymore. Okay, some of you are a bit heavy-handed with your pens and pencils, and so if you can't see it, you can't go back and double-check it. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Good. So I've got 15 pieces of data here. So my data's in order. We need to find the position of the median. How do we find the position of the median? Knowing that there's 15 pieces of data. Eliana?
So 15 plus 1
Yeah.
divided by 2.
Good. So 15 plus 1 is, divided by 2 is 8. So we want the 8th position. Now remember, 8 is not our answer. It's the position of our answer. Okay? Sienna, you've been putting your hand up a lot. Do you have the answer to this one?
Yeah.
Pardon?
Yeah, 5.
Lovely. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this one here is our median. Our median is 5. if you ever want to double check that, you can make sure that you've got the same number of data values on the left and the right. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 there.
So because we had an even number, we had to.
We didn't have an even number,
Oh, we had
so
an odd
15 is
number.
odd.
Because we had an odd number, we had to add one.
So you always add 1, but when you add 1 and divide by 2, if you get a decimal value, so if your answer says 0.5, then you're going to need to look at the 2 answers either side of that. Okay, so when I added 1 and divided by 2, I got 8. So I knew it was just the 8th number. If I had added 1 and divided by 2 and I got 7.5, I would have had to look at the 7th piece of data and the 8th piece of data because they surround 7.5.
Okay.
Okay? So our median is 5. Now we need to find our quartiles. Now, what did I say quartiles do? They cut the data into quarter or four pieces. For this set of data, I need to cut it into 4. Now, I've got 15 pieces of data. That doesn't evenly divide into 4. Agreed? Yes, you'll see that? So what happens when we have this situation is that we ignore the median when we're trying to find our upper and lower quartiles. So we found that the median is 5. I'm now going to discount that from my calculations or looking at my data values. No, because when it's an even number, you just cut them into 2 halves. Because when we're finding upper and lower quartiles, we need to make sure we've got the same number of data values that we're looking at. So remember I just said that there was 7 here and there was 7 here. If I were to join this 5 into one of those groups, I'd have a different number of data values. Whereas if I've got 14 pieces of data, I'd have 7 and 7 because I cut it in half. Yeah, does that make sense? So I've got 7 pieces of data on the left and I've got 7 pieces of data on the right. So I need to find my median. Okay, so the lower quartile and the upper quartile is the middle point of the bottom group and the middle point of the upper group. So if I, pardon?
I'm lost.
What are you lost? How have I lost you?
Since we started B, she hasn't really said anything.
So all I've said is that we've now got, we had 15 pieces of data. We need to make sure that we have the same number in each of the halves. So to do that, we're going to ignore this number that we just found as the middle. Okay? So I've got 7 pieces of data here and 7 pieces of data there. If I've got 7 pieces of data to find the location of the midpoint, I'm going to do the same thing as I did here. I'm going to add 1 and divide by 2. So what's 7 plus 1?
8.
Divide by 2. So it's my 4th piece of data. Do you all see that?
So it's 3.
Yes. So my median or my lower quartile, the middle of the bottom half, is this data value here.
That makes sense.
So you're finding the middle of the bottom half of the group. So yes?
Yep.
I'm not seeing lots of yes faces. I'm seeing quite a few.
7 from?
Because there were 7 pieces of data here.
Oh.
Yeah?
I see now.
Yes?
That explains the whole thing.
Now, some of you might be looking at this, looking at numbers, merely writing down, but maybe you need to say number of data values in each half or something. Okay, these are your notes, so you need to add extra notes if you think you're going to need them later on. Yeah. So that's the middle of the bottom group. Okay. Now we knew we had 7 pieces of data in the other half as well. Yes. So we're going to count the 4th position here as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, because there were 7 in each half.
Wait, I'm going to try down. Yeah, I'm really. Wait, why did you say you just leave the
He's gonna die.
Yeah, we're the same thing.
Okay, so Did you understand this one? Yeah.
Does that mean that?
Okay, so we just start counting here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because there's a set. Darling, just shouting out is not helping, is it? That's going to make me less likely to answer you and make me more frustrated because I'm trying to explain something to Annie. Okay? Just give me 1 second. So, if you were happy that this was the 4th piece of data here, so then we said that there were 7 pieces of data here. There's also 7 here.
Yep.
So it's the 4th one counted from this number.
So when it says lower and upper, we have to do both on each side.
Yes, you have to find the middle of both groups.
Could the test maybe say just do lower or just do upper?
Unlikely, mostly they would get you to do both because the question is more likely to ask you about the interquartile range.
So
They may not even say find the upper and lower quartile, but you have to know to do that.
if they do, oh wait, so we don't have to do it?
So, darling, if they've asked you to find the interquartile range,
Yeah.
you need to do the upper and lower quartiles. Because you're not going to know what the interquartile range is unless you've got those 2 pieces of information.
Like what would the question be? Like we would just write, okay, enter the
It may say find the interquartile range. That's
Then where did we do like 3 and 7? Like we just like while we're working it out, we go
Yes,
3.
yes.
I'm lost.
Which mean where, I mean, the where will we do it, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
It's like for the data, but they didn't have A, B, and C. They said
They may just say find the interquartile range.
so we have to find the median as well.
No, not the median.
So if it says find the interquartile range, you just write them all out and say so it's.
You have to find the upper and lower quartile, yeah.
Okay.
And then based on the upper and lower, what would be the interquartile?
We haven't got to that yet,
Mm-hmm.
because you keep telling me you're confused about the upper and lower quartile.
Sort of. I can't read the blue writing in the corner.
Number of data value.
That's the number of data values in each half.
Does this mean that, so the 7 would be the other quartile?
Yes,
Is this the higher number?
yes, because it was the middle of the top group. So the lower quartile is going to be 3. And the upper quartile is 7.
Oh, they have another one down here. Okay.
Okay? So the lower quartile was 3 and the upper quartile was 7. Okay? So that's question A we've done. Question B we've done. Now question C has asked us for the interquartile range. This should be the quickest and easiest thing we've done. Because what did I say the interquartile range was? It's just written here.
It's the highest.
The highest. Oh, be careful. That's just the range. The interquartile range.
Quartile 3 minus
Quartile 3 minus quartile 1. What did we just find? Quartile 3 and quartile 1. So what's the interquartile range going to be? 7 take away 3, which is 4. I'm lazy, I put IQR, the interquartile range. Okay, you can write the full thing if you prefer. But I'm guessing you guys would like to be like, you can try IQR if you wish.
What does the 3 and 1 stand for?
Because there are 4 quartiles, so there's 4 gaps in total. So do you remember on the page before I wrote Q1, Q2, Q3? Yes, Abby.
I'm sorry, I already asked this, but what does the writing say again about 7 plus?
Number
Number.
of data. Oh, sorry.
Number of data values in each half.
Oh, so we don't have to draw a graph for the X.
No, and that's the thing. So sometimes I'll just give you data and ask you to work this stuff out. If you've drawn the cumulative frequency graph, it's actually way easier. Bless you. Okay?
Yes.
Alright, so we're going to do another example now.
Yay!
So again, the median, the lower and upper quartiles, and the interquartile range. So our first step is the most tedious one, but it's the most important one, because if we don't do the first step, it means that everything else is going to go horribly
It's
wrong.
like 1, 2,
2, 4.
Whoa.
Oh, there's a 1.
Okay, so 1. And then
2.
2.
1, 3.
So there's 1, 2 4s.
Sorry.
2 5s.
2 6s. 3 7s.
Wait, Sarah.
Sarah, I know, sweetheart, you're trying to help, but maybe we can let everyone have a go at this on their own.
Oh, geez, okay. Oh,
Okay,
my
there's a
God.
lot of data values here, so you've got to make sure that you're not spreading it out too much. Okay, our check here is make sure we've got the right number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I wrote it in the wrong
18, 19, 20 pieces of data.
I got 21.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20. We've got 21. I think
I got 17.
it's counted. I'm going to pause it just while everyone catches up. Alright, so for this one we've got 20 pieces of data, yes?
Yeah.
They've asked us to find the median. So we know to find the median, we would add 1 to that. So we would have 20 plus 1 divided by 2 gives us 10.5. Now this is the one, remember, you'd have to find the 10th and the 11th piece of data. So the 10th piece of data and the 11th piece of data, because we got a 0.5. So 10 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that would be 6. And 11th would be 7. Is that what everyone got?
Yeah.
Now what do we do with those values? Indigo?
I feel like I'm gonna get this wrong, but isn't it 6 and 7 and then plus 1 over 2?
Say again?
6 plus 7 plus 1 over 2.
You don't need to do the plus 1. Remember the plus 1 was just to find the position of
Oh, just 6
yeah?
plus 7 over 2.
Yeah. Okay, so we would do 6 plus 7 divided by 2, which is 6.5. Remember, what you're doing when you're adding these two numbers up and dividing by 2 is finding in between them. So if you can look at 6 and 7 and know that 6.5 is going to be between them, you don't have to do this actual mini calculation. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Yeah.
What was your question? Okay. So, as I said, you're finding the midpoint between 6 and 7. A lot of the time it will be obvious, but if it's not, you just add the two numbers up and divide by 2. Alright, so we found our median, so that's part A. Now we come to find our upper and lower quartile. Now, last time there was an odd number.
Is it alright to leave your median as a decimal number?
Yes? Okay. Last time we had an odd number of data values, so we had to ignore our median, didn't we, to make sure that there was the same number in each top and bottom half. But when there's an even number of data values, you're going to literally just cut them into 2 halves. Okay? So now I've got 10 in my bottom half and 10 in my top half. So I've cut my data into 2. Essentially, you've cut down the middle where your little median would have been sitting. Yes? So I've got 10 pieces of data here, 10 pieces of data there. To find my median of my bottom half, so to find the lower quartile, you're finding the middle of the bottom half. There are 10 pieces of data in the bottom half, so we add 1 and divide by 2. So that's 5.5. So we need to know what the 5th one and the 6th one is for each of these halves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th one was 4. The 6th one was also 4, which means our lower quartile is 4. Yes, because obviously 4 plus 4 divided by 2 is 3. I say obviously, hopefully that's obvious.
What's the upper quartile?
I haven't done that yet. Give us a chance.
Sorry. I thought you said that. Never mind.
No. Okay, so that's my lower quartile. I'm going to do the same thing again with my upper quartile. I'm finding the 5th and the 6th position. Obviously now starting counting here is 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my 5th position is 8. My 6th position is 9. So my upper quartile is halfway between those two. What's halfway between 8 and 9? 8.5. Oh.
Wait, I just catch up.
Okay, I'll fix it. Just the sentence. So part C would then be finding the interquartile range, which we've talked about is the upper quartile, subtract the lower quartile. So the interquartile range would be 8.5 subtract 4, which is 4.5. Okay? Right, so you should know